So when we are solving problems that involve the speed, distance, and time, very likely you are going to set up irrational expressions that involve a ratio of two things. Most of the time we will try to compare the speed of one thing over the other, like example number 1. When you are trying to compare the speed of two different transportation or the speed of two different persons trying to complete the same job, the best way to approach these kind of questions will be to set up a table. There is a lot of advantage of setting up a table like this. It helps you to create the equations you need to solve your problem. So here in example number 1, in this questions they are trying to compare the speed between two different transportation in water. A hydrofoil travels 120 kilometers. In the same time, it takes a boat to travel 80 kilometers. For now, we are given the distance traveled by both transportation. The first one given to us is a hydrofoil, and the second one is a boat. They give us the distance for both of them, but apparently they are going to travel with a different speed because it takes them the same time to travel 120 kilometers for one of them and only 80 km for another one. So we're going to look at the speed of the two of them. The hydrofoil is 10 kilometers per hour faster than the boat. Here is one number given to us, and we also have the distance given as well. They've mentioned the same time for both of them. So we are going to set up this problem here using a table by starting with a let statement. Find the speed of the hydrofoil and the speed of the boat in kilometers per hour. Right now, since they are talking about the speed, I will let x be the speed. Or some people would like to use s instead because we are talking about speed. We're going to let x be the speed of one thing. And we are given that the hydrofoil is 10 kilometers per hour faster than the boat. So how would you express the speed for both of them? If I'm to let s be the speed of the boat, what would be the speed of the hydrofoil? S plus 10. So we are done with the speed. For the distance, we have the distance traveled by both of them. It is 120 for the hydrofoil and 80 km for the boat. We will now move on to the time. In the question, they've only tell us same time, nothing else. They don't have any numbers given to us for the time. But we can probably use the speed and the distance to come up with an expressions for the time. For now, we know one thing already. Speed equals distance over time, but we don't have the time. How can I use the speed and distance to come up with the time? Distance over speed, yeah. So by setting up a rational expressions for time, distance over speed, we can now set up an equation that will help us to solve for S. Knowing how both of them would take us the same time, they are to be equal. They are the same. So I can now set up an equation with 120 over this equals 80 divided by that, and solve this equation using what we have learned last class. How do you solve this equation? Can I do it this way? No, you will never do it this way. This will never be true. Well, it cannot be true in most cases. What we will do here is to identify the LCD using the denominators given to us. Once you have identified your LCD, we can now multiply each numerator by your LCD. And this is to eliminate the denominator on each side of your equation. So as you can see, we will now end up with 20 kilometer per hour, and this will be the speed of the boat, and that means the speed of the hydrofoil would then be 30 kilometer per hour. This is how we set up the question using a table, and for each of them, for the first two columns, you will be able to identify those info from the question itself. Once you have identified the first two, the third column on the table can now be obtained by setting up a rational expressions using the first two information here. And from there, very likely, you will be able to set up an equation that will correspond to what they want you to find.